All right, let's talk about one of the wildest ghost stories in all of crypto, Terra Classic, or LUNC. This is a story about a multi-billion-dollar project that went to zero, a founder who ended up in prison, and somehow a token that just refuses to stay dead.
And that right there, that's the big question, isn't it? It's this massive paradox. You've got cold, hard math on one side and the incredible power of pure belief on the other. To figure this out, we need to go back to the moment this whole ghost story began.
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to jump in the time machine and go back to May 2022. This was a month that is burned into the memory of crypto investors everywhere. It's when a top 10 project basically vanished into thin air. And wow, did this thing unravel fast. It all started on May 7th, when their stablecoin, UST, started to wobble off its $1 peg. The people in charge, the Luna Foundation Guard, they threw $1.5 billion in Bitcoin at it to try and fix it. But it was like throwing a bucket of water on a forest fire. The project's own algorithm, the very thing that was supposed to keep it stable, flipped out and started the famous death spiral. It just began printing Luna tokens like there was no tomorrow. In just a few days, the whole blockchain had to be shut down, and what was left of the original chain was given a new name, a ghost, Terra Classic.
And the amount of money that just evaporated, it's hard to even wrap your head around it. We are talking about an estimated $45 billion. Gone. Poof. In less than a week. This wasn't a dip, this was a crater.
So that death spiral wasn't just about the price crashing. It was hyperinflation on a scale you can't even imagine. The supply of tokens just exploded. We went from a totally normal 343 million tokens to, wait for it, over 6.5 times trillion. That's trillion with a T. It's the reason the price fell over 99.99%. The project's own code literally destroyed it from the inside out.
And if that wasn't enough, the final nail in the coffin seemed to be the legal drama. The founder, Do Kwon, went on the run, got caught, and in late 2025 was sentenced to 15 years in prison for fraud. So you've got a collapsed project, a disgraced founder behind bars. You think, okay, story's over, right? Roll credits? But nope, not even close.
So what's left in the ashes of this thing created two totally opposite camps. Let's start with the realists, the skeptics, the bears. These are the folks who look at the facts and just see a total dead end. This is the case for cold, hard reality.
Look, the case against LUNC is, well, it's pretty brutal. It's not just one big problem, it's a whole pile of them. First, you have trillions of tokens floating around. That's an anchor you just can't lift. The token burns they're doing, it's like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. And then there's the reputation. It's forever tied to a massive collapse and a founder convicted of fraud. There are no real apps being built on it, and it really depends on one exchange, Binance, to even stay relevant. For the bears, this thing is fundamentally completely broken.
But on the complete other side of the ring, you've got the believers, the community that looked at this smoldering crater and said, nope, we're not done here. This is the case that isn't built on spreadsheets, it's built on pure, raw conviction.
The whole argument for LUNC, the bull case, is that crypto just doesn't play by normal rules. It's all about the story, the narrative. And LUNC has a killer comeback story. You've got this grassroots community called the Terra Rebels, who literally took over a dead project and are trying to bring it back to life. They're burning tokens, they've got a technical roadmap, and it's all community run now. And hey, the fact that huge exchanges still support it, that gives them a lot of hope.
And the main weapon in their arsenal? It's this idea of a token burn. A huge chunk of the burn tokens came from the original company, Terraform Labs, but the real ongoing fight is being powered by a small tax on every single transaction and, this is a big one, the crypto exchange Binance, which has been helping out by burning a part of their trading fees every month.
And look, this isn't just wishful thinking and burning tokens. There's an actual technical roadmap for 2026. They're working on upgrading the whole system to make it faster and more modern. They're even testing out a way to maybe, just maybe, bring back the old stablecoin from the dead. And they're looking at bringing real-world assets onto the chain. They are genuinely trying to build something useful here.
Okay, so you've got these two epic forces clashing, right? On one side, you have the passionate belief of this community. And on the other, you've got cold, hard, unbreakable math. Let's see what happens when they go head-to-head.
And this really is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Is all this passion, all this coding, all this burning, is it actually enough to fix the massive hole that was created back in 2022?
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks.
It all comes down to this one number. After every single burn, after all that work, there are still almost 5.5 trillion LUNC tokens out there. That is the mountain they are trying to climb.
And this chart, man, this chart just lays it all out. The community has done an incredible job burning hundreds of billions of tokens. That's a huge number by itself. But then you put that tiny little bar next to the absolute mountain that is the remaining supply, and wow, you see the brutal reality of what they're up against.
And here it is, the mathematical knockout punch. Even with all the effort from the community and the massive help from Binance, at the rate they're going right now, it would take over 300 years to get the supply back to where it was before the crash. I'm going to say that again. 300 years.
So, where does that leave us? The math looks completely impossible, but the community just keeps going. This is where we stop talking about numbers and start talking about psychology.
You know, there's actually a psychological reason for this, something called the disposition effect. Basically, our brains are wired to hate admitting we lost, so we tend to hold on to our losers, hoping they'll come back, just to avoid that pain of selling for a loss. It's a super powerful force, especially in markets like this.
And this quote I saw on Binance Square really just nails the whole believer mindset. It says, "Markets don't move on certainty, they move on conviction, liquidity, and timing." The believers aren't betting on the math, they're betting on the story, they're betting on belief itself.
And that just brings us right back to where we started. You've got this impossible math problem on one side and this unstoppable community spirit on the other. So I have to ask you, after hearing all this, where do you land? Are you a skeptic looking at the 300-year problem? Or are you a believer betting on the power of conviction? The choice, as always, is yours.